Hello everyone, my name is Mary and this is Athena's Malia Becca, and it's time for me to do my February wrap-up. I did read 7 books, but before we start with the books, we're going to do the February cover page. If you've never seen one of my wrap-ups before, I usually choose a character I enjoy from some type of media. It tends to be anime, I think, more than not. And for February, for this month, I've chosen Haruhi from Ouran High School Host Club. And that's great because I love them. These are the pictures I've chose for the spread. So let's put the monthly spread together. So the February monthly cover page is done, and I really like how it turned out, so that's good. So the first book that I read in February was House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I can't really talk much about what's in this story because unless I spoil it for you, spoil a lot of things because this is the third book in a series. But I will say that right after I finished it, I was really excited and I really liked it. There were a couple things that were a little annoying after I first finished reading it, but it wasn't too bad, or in my head it wasn't too bad. But the longer I thought about it, the worse those things felt to me. So while I still enjoyed it overall, it was also kind of slightly disappointing. I don't know exactly how to say it, because it was still a good story and I'd still recommend picking it up. There was just certain storylines in this book that were frustrating to me overall, so there's that. But I did have fun while I was reading it, so that's really all you can ask with the Sarah J. Maas book. These are the pictures I chose for it. Now let's set up the spread. And that's the House of Flame and Shadow spread. I messed up a little bit on the way I wanted them laid out, but it still turned out okay. It's just this was supposed to go over further, and it bugs me a little bit, but we're just gonna power through. So let's go on to the next book. The next book I read was Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. This was a cute middle grade story, and I enjoyed it for the most part. Was really into it at the beginning, and then it kind of slowly wasn't as into it towards the end. But I am curious enough that I want to continue. I think the thing that lessened my enjoyment of the story, maybe, is the right way to put it, is that I don't think I went into this expecting the story I actually got. I will say a lot of the times I go into a book not knowing, I try to go into a story knowing as little as possible. I just had different expectations for what the story was. That's not a diss on the book though, because it was still cute and I would recommend it. Also, if you have type 1 diabetes, there's type 1 diabetes rep in this book. I mean, as someone who doesn't have type 1 diabetes, I don't know how well the rep is, but in the author's note, he did mention that he talked to people about it, so take that with a grain of salt if you have type 1 diabetes and want to read a book with type 1 diabetes rep in it. So here are the pictures that I chose for this book. They feel random because this book is random. Now let's put the spread together. So that is Sal and Gabi Break the Universe spread. And after I finished reading this book is when I started doing my 24 hours of reading romance. So the next book I picked up, which is very different from Sal and Gabi Break the Universe, is Sea of Ruin by Pam Godwin. This was an enjoyable read. I had a good time. Slightly weird to say that when there's so many dark things that are happening to the main character. If you don't know, Sea of Ruin is a dark romance. Look up trigger warnings for it if you decide to embark on this adventure. The Bennett is the main character you're following, and I really enjoyed her. She is a fun character to follow. And I also really enjoyed Priest and Ashley as well. It took me a bit to get to like Ashley, longer than it took Bennett to like Ashley, but what are you gonna do? Bennett is blind to red flags. But I would recommend the story to people who like dark romance and pirates. So here's the photos I chose. So let's set up the spread. So that is the finished Sea of Ruin spread. I just like the aesthetic of pirates. So anytime that I can use pirate pictures or pictures that are like for pirating, I know I'm going to enjoy the spread. But I do think it's funny that I have a middle grade right next to a dark romance. They have very opposite vibes. So let's go to the next book I read. The next book I read was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong, and I really enjoyed the story. There was a conversation at the start that kind of annoyed me, and the third act conflict in this romance is not necessarily my favorite, but overall I enjoyed this story. I thought the couple were adorable, and I would love to read more about them because they're so cute. I'm really glad that I finally read it. Here are the pictures for the spread. So now let's put it together. So that is the spread for Kiss Quotient. I actually really enjoy this one because all the pictures have like similar tones to it. I feel like these pictures go very well together. That doesn't always happen because it's hard to find pictures sometimes that correlate with the book. The Kiss Quotient happens to be a very popular story, so if it's a popular, specifically romance, if it's a popular romance, finding pictures for spreads like this are a lot easier than if the book was not popular. So the fifth book I read in February was So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, and this was such a sweet story. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely YA, so if that's a deterrent, maybe not for you. And miscommunication is a heavily used trope in this story, and the main reason that the couple you're rooting for throughout the story isn't together for the majority of the story. But I was able to overlook the miscommunication because I was having such a fun time with the story. It was just a sweet, adorable story, and I really liked it. So, also, there was an announcement for, I want to say Illumicrate, but that might be wrong. One of those book boxes that do special editions for F.T. Lukens bundle, and I want it so bad. I'll leave a picture of what it looks like somewhere on the screen because I've read 2 of her books now, this one and In Deeper Waters, and I've enjoyed both of them, so I really want to get it, but at the moment I have very small amount of money, so I probably shouldn't do it. But hopefully by then maybe I'll be able to, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, so these are the pictures that I chose for So This Is Ever After. So now let's put the spread together. So that is the spread for So This Is Ever After. I actually really enjoy this. The only thing I wish I did when I was putting them down was move this little section over a little bit so it doesn't feel so blank right here. Once you put them down, you can't fix them. You very rarely, once you put them down, like if I notice when I put the pictures down before I like spread them all out, sometimes I can get it up and rearrange it, but very rarely will that work. Anyways, but overall, I really enjoy this spread. It's probably one of my favorites as of right now, so that's good. So now let's go on to the next book. The next book I read in February was The Alpha's Fated Encounter by Roxy Ray. And if you watched my romance reading vlog, you know that I didn't really care for this very much. Thought it was just okay. I feel like the longer I sit with it, the less I enjoyed it, like the less I liked it. So, which is usually what happens with me. I get excited right after I finish a story and then it just goes downhill from there. But this time, when I finished it, I wasn't even that excited about it, so you know, it's fine. It was alright. Would I recommend it? No, not really. Unless it really sounds interesting to you, because there's people that like it, because I've seen 5-star reviews for it. It just definitely wasn't for me, so there's that. But I'm still making a spread for it, because this is for every book I read, not just the books I enjoy. So let me show you the pictures I've chosen for this story. So let's put this spread together. That's the Alpha's Fated Encounter spread. I like it. Now it's on to the last book I read in February, and that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This was a very interesting take on racism in the publishing industry. I thought it was really well done and well crafted. R.F. Kuang really knows her way around words. The only thing that made this story not my absolute next favorite was just like a personal preference thing, and it's something that I knew before I picked it up, and it's one of the reasons why I hesitated in the first place to pick this up, because I wasn't 100% sure how I'd feel about it. And that's the fact that I don't really enjoy reading from an unlikable character's perspective, and June, the main character in this story, is nothing if not an unlikable character. She does some horrible things in this story, like right off the bat, horrible things. And while the unlikable narrator did hinder my enjoyment slightly, overall I did have a good time while reading it. So, well, once again, good time doesn't seem like quite the right words, but hopefully you understand what I'm getting at. And I would say, even if you don't very much care about an unlikable character, I would still give this book a try. There's a lot of people that have read it and a lot of people that have enjoyed it. So, me not quite giving it full stars is the minority. Anyway, these are the pictures that I chose for this story. And let's get making the spread. So that is the last spread of February. Really enjoyed this one too. So those are all of the books that I read in February. I hope you enjoyed seeing me put together all these spreads, because I really enjoyed making this journal, so hopefully you're enjoying watching me do it. And that's all I have for you today, so I hope to see you next week, but I make no promises. Bye!